Tonight I'm going to do a soup to nuts, beginning to end demonstration on a live, real working website of W3 Total Cache combined with Amazon CloudFront CDN, Content Delivery Network. And how do we know if you're on a CDN or not? Well, if we say right-click, open a new tab for an image, do it multiple times, all these images show is www.tinkertry.com. They're hosted on my site, my web hosting provider. So what we're going to do is have Content Delivery Network, magically serve those up from Amazon Web Services, CloudFront. And they have servers all over the world pushing to my media-rich site and its media files to the edges of the network, closer to the users. So let's get started with the actual process. It's a lightly loaded server here on a Sunday night, only 7 users active. That's good. There may be some anomalies for site visitors while we do this, but probably not. So let's get into the directions. How did I pick this article? Well, we want to use an article that's recent and relevant. So this one is awesome, but I found going through it, I ran into some trouble. It's rather long, let's start with that, but also very good and very detailed. It talks you through creating an S3 bucket. And you're then uploading your files, and then you're configuring W3 Total Cache to upload your templates and themes. That manual process was a problem. Uploading the media content from my 5 gig site would take at least 5 to 7 hours, and the site could be affected during that time, so not good. There's also security issues, creating users, just a bit of complexity, quite a process to run through. So great directions, but I realized I'm going to go back to this method. Just plain Amazon CloudFront, no S3. So here's my Amazon Web Services account. That's a prerequisite. Yes, I already have that set up and approved, and I've been running that for a while now. The only thing we need today is going to be the CloudFront tab. And we want to get started with these directions because it takes a little while to create the distribution. So I'm going to dive right in and stop talking about it and start doing it. And it tells you, first you create it, then you configure W3 Total Cache. So let's get started with creating it. Gives you the URL, which is pretty handy. It tells you to click Create Distribution and scroll down. Download, they've now renamed Web, but you'll see clearly this is something else entirely. So Web is what used to be called Download. That's fine. Click Continue. Under origin name, it's my domain name. So this is my origin. Watch this. Notice there's no S3 buckets available. I have a blank Amazon Web Services account. Okay, so this is my live website, and I use wwws by default. So when I visit my site, that's the URL you want to use for your main site. Okay? Next, it types in something else for origin ID. We can leave that alone. And actually, we can leave everything else alone. Now, custom CNAMEs, this article doesn't really get into. I am going to do that. So, scroll down a little bit. Carefully look. We want to use best performance all over the world. I've already tested this and ran it for a couple of weeks, and the price was favorable and the speed was good. Better than 2 other CDN solutions I tried. So I'm going to leave that alone as well. This I want to touch though. I'm going to call it cdn.tinkertry.com. Keep on cruising down. Okay, so yeah, these directions aren't all that detailed because they only have you doing the very basics, and adding the CDN name is fine. If you click the question mark, it tells us more. I don't need to turn logging on. Click Create Distribution. And you've got a status thing here spinning. So slide that over a little bit, in progress. Okay, so it's going to take a little while, as I had mentioned. So we want to get that going. It's already enabled, notice. But one of the gotchas is this temporary domain name I don't want to use quite yet. I want to wait till this in progress turns into ready, And that takes about 5 to 8 minutes in my case. When I tried the S3 bucket method, it was taking me hours, as I mentioned, and I was getting firewall blocking issues. My web hosting provider was, its Linux instance was blocking as if it was like under attack from me. It was on web services trying to pull. So this method I found seems to work great. Notice we didn't have to do any fancy setup with permissions or anything. It's really quite straightforward. Now, it's important to get a baseline. So while we're waiting for that, we can have a look at some benchmarks I ran. Not so good. I did a fancy article here that's very long with a lot of graphics, and my score is not amazing. Page load time is pretty horrendous right there. Here's a server that's in Amsterdam. So if I click on settings, you'll see from Amsterdam, and it's pretty slow, 4 seconds. Now my server itself is DediHost. It's a VPS service, so I'm not on shared web hosting. So some of the settings I'm going to show you in W3 Total Cache might or might not really apply to you. We'll get into that in detail. This test doesn't seem to want to finish, and pretty poor on Google as well. Okay, so while we're waiting for CloudFront, we can go ahead and get the plugin, right? W3 Total Cache, and we've got directions right here, of course. Install it. This is the one, 0.094. Now this is a recent article, 0.94, excuse me. We install it, the usual way you'd install. Again, I'm logged into my dashboard on my live WordPress blog. And now we activate the plugin. I'd recommend backing up your entire website first. I happen to use blogVault, by the way. But if you have something go wrong, it's always good to have that. All right, so notice default settings in use, and it complains a bit. So we're going to click Save the Settings, and that's done. Now we want to start configuring. A new thing called Performance showed up here and here at the top. So we can click there, and it starts walking us through what to do next. Cancel this, and go to General. Okay, page cache. Depends on your hosting environment. If you're shared, disk enhanced is the best option. If you're dedicated or virtual, which is me, I'm going to select the respective options. So what are those options? Well, I'll have a look here. Dedicated, all these are grayed out, right? Unless my server had those features installed, and it doesn't. So we're going to stick with this one. We're going to do the same for Minify. Turn it on. Upcode for me. Next. We missed something here. So we have Minify. Database cache didn't show up yet. All right, let's see what it says. We've got to read carefully. There it is, database cache. They just didn't have a screenshot of it. Turn it on, and that. Now, there's some controversy about turning those on, by the way. Quite a bit of it, actually. You'll find some sites adamantly against it. I have solid-state drives in my hosting provider. I haven't really noticed a big difference one way or the other, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, browser cache. Turn it on. And CDN we're going to get into in a minute. So now that we've done that, click Save Settings. We didn't need to click Save Settings for each section, right? And at the top, it's warning me to do the empty page cache. That's important. All right, so we don't have a content delivery network in place yet. The rest of the module's default values are fine. So if you scroll down here, these are the other pages. Page cache settings, right? Page cache. So we want to move on now to the next page. Next tab. Okay, looks like they turned this on, this off. All right, what else do we have on here? Cache preload. Okay, I want to make sure we get this right. So that's my URL. And preload it right after posting. All right, there's some new options here. And I'm going to leave them alone. Interesting what it's saying here too, huh? About server performance. Okay, and then what's under advanced? This author says what about advanced? Okay, we're done there, it appears. There's a whole bunch of defaults of things to avoid. We're going to leave them alone. And now we're moving on to browser cache settings. So they were there after all. Sorry about that. No, they're not there. They're in a different section. They're right here. Sorry about that. Now we got it. Jumping down a little bit. In browser cache, we make it match. On the General tab, by the way, you can save your W3 total cache settings and restore them. So it's important because it gets a little complicated as you do all this. Obviously, I started at, new settings. Okay, and then it's alive. Okay, so the person does not have you doing anything else at this point. Interesting. So we're leaving all this alone. And hitting Save All Settings. At the top, it's going to warn me to empty that. Okay. Now it's telling us we can actually look at our site running and do something like view page source, hit Control F, and look for minified. W3 total cache active, and you can see it doing its thing. So there's evidence it's running. It says it's alive, so let's run these benchmarks again, but let's do it a little smarter this time in that we want to be able to make it super easy for you, the video watcher, to see the before and after, right? So how are we going to do that? How about we just clone these tabs, duplicate, 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 and duplicate. Now, on the duplicate, we're going to rerun the test. Okay, I'll resume recording the video when I get these benchmarks done. Again, we want valid, good benchmark before and after results. By the way, the website has only 6 users on there now. And there haven't been any breaks here. It's, let's see, I don't know. Been recording video for 14 minutes. Okay, so there's one result. Now we go to the second tab here, and we simply test it again from Amsterdam. Whoops, didn't say Amsterdam, so let's fix that. Let's see if the first one said Amsterdam. It did. Okay, so you have to pick your site every time for that particular tool. So what we're going to do is when that CloudFront distribution list is done, okay, it's all of a minute later now. I really didn't need to stop doing the video, it turns out. So yeah, you see this started at 27 after, now it's 42 after. Not bad for 5 gig of data. It's impressive and rather simple. All right, now we're ready to paste this into our clipboard. Copy. Remember I told you about cPanel? So we want to call it CDN in my case. And that's going to be .tinkertry.com. That's the name. Paste from the clipboard. And you'll see it show up on the bottom. Now let's consider that a demo and a screenshot of how it's supposed to look for you. In my case, that's actually not in use for me. I use something called DNS Made Easy. So if you happen to use DNS Made Easy as well, which propagates across the world very, very quickly, I'm now going to show you how that works. And let's look up cdn.tinkertry.com. Okay, that's the IP address of my server. It's not a content delivery network yet. There is no entry here yet to do it. So we're about to have one. It's called CDN. Notice what it says. I don't have to type it, it's appending that for me. So here I now paste, and it's warning me, .tinkertry.com, that's wrong. You want to hit a dot at the end. There, now it's all happy, and it's going to point to CloudFront. Before I hit submit, let's type it in here as well in this map. And change this to CNAME, and hit search. Okay, so you'll see a bunch of red X's. Now, we click submit over here. I actually find this kind of fun. Close, and this database flies around the world quickly. There it is, this new CDN we just set up. And it's unlikely to show here quite yet. Nope, it did. Didn't even have to ipconfig /flush DNS. It's pretty darn close to instant, right? Now this screen you have to hit refresh. And it's starting to spread across the world. So, pretty cool, right? It's not done yet, but the site in, let's see, I'm in Connecticut, but we want to wait just a little longer. So it's in our clipboard. While that's propagating over the world, we can move forward now. In the browser cache, at this point, I don't really have a single article that told me these next steps. So under General Settings, and we scroll down, and we look for this thing called CDN. We enable it, and then we think for a moment. So I go with generic mirror and save all settings. Now go to the CDN subsection. So watch what happens. We scroll down and look at CDN. We just saved it. Not very exciting, not much to look at, right? But if we go here to CDN, now we've got some stuff to type. So in my case, all right, let's go with cdn.tinkertry.com, right? That's my replacement that I picked, a nice custom one. Rather than a kind of an ugly long URL, I like having a more elegant one. All right, have we finished propagating across the globe yet? And there we go. That's a good sign. Finished. Okay, now that it's finished propagating, we've got cdn.tinkertry.com down here. We've tested the mirror. And then we're going to save all settings. And then clear cache. Doesn't say to do that, but that's important. I've noticed it doesn't actually do anything until you click Performance Empty All Caches. Okay, so now CDN should be active on my live website. I'll next show you how to know for sure. Now we right-click. gets in incognito mode, you have different options. Open link address, there it is, CDN. So it is working. It's a little weird to have CDN going as an admin though. So kind of thinking, I don't want that. This one, I did not hit Control F5. So if we say open image in new tab, it says CDN, right? But now we hit Control F5 to reload the page from the network. Waiting for it. Okay, it came up. Right click, open image in new tab. It's got www on it. Okay, you see the difference? So that's it. We no longer have CDN in use as an admin. All right, this should be fun to run them again. So for after, that was just merely installing W3 Total Cache, but now we have CDN going. So let's duplicate it again and rerun the same tests. Same here, duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. So the third tab is always going to be a new run. Now this first one's probably, who knows if the cache is primed or what kind of results we'll get. All right, let's see how we did. 85, 88, 88. Let's try this one. Amsterdam, test it. Terrible. Let's try it again. Pretty good, considering the size of that article. Pretty darn good. Is it Amsterdam? Yep. Wow. Okay, so that's promising. I just want to try out the plain old homepage. See how that does from Amsterdam. $1.5. 1.5, nice. That could be my best score ever right there. Let's see how many people are on the site right now on a Sunday night. Low, only 9. So yeah, it's a good time to do this sort of thing. So a little bit inconsistent. 1.5 and then 2 point something. 1.49 again, it's nice. So yeah, that's looking good. I can artificially boost this number to 85 or 88 if I just do it in a second CDN, but my load time actually gets bigger. So I choose to ignore the 80 there and go with load time. Probably not. Notice this is simulating a Dallas connection at a 5 megabit cable. So you're not going to have the same numbers as the Pingdom test, which is faster connection on the web. Okay, we just got our first 80 though, 90, excuse me. It's important to point out the general settings page has a handy feature, as I mentioned once, but didn't show you, and it's right here. Suppose I like what I've done and I'm happy with the performance. Maybe I never beat 1.48 seconds again for my home page, exactly as it's configured with the current set of plugins. Well, we can download, we can export the config, and just save it. So if we have a problem, we can import it back again. So there you have it. Hopefully you found this video helpful. Thank you for watching. and for visiting tinkertry.com.